Welcome back to the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy's e-learning program. I am Ms. Janelle Dillon-Shepherd and I'll be your tutor for Principles of Business. The topic is the nature of business, and today we'll explore the types of sectors and the types of business within our economy. I hope you do enjoy class today. You students, at the end of class, you'll be able to differentiate between public sector and private sector, and as well to discuss the various types of businesses within these sectors. We would now look at a video which would highlight the different sectors and
if you had something really important to mail, would you head to the post office, which is run by the government and considered part of the public sector? Or would you go to a place like UPS or FedEx, which are private businesses? Politicians and the media often talk about the private and public sectors of our economy, but what's the difference, and which one is more effective? The private sector is made up of businesses or corporations owned by people. Private sector includes malls, grocery stores, and your local diner. To make a profit in the private sector, businesses must earn our money by offering us products and services that we want or need. When businesses have to compete for the same dollars, prices go down, because no one wants to pay twice as much for shoes at one store if you can get the same pair cheaper at another place. On the other hand, the public sector is not supported by profits, so it doesn't have to compete for our dollars. Instead, the public sector uses our tax dollars to fund its services, so we pay for these programs no matter how much or how little we use them. The government decides how our tax dollars should be spent in the public sector. This makes sense for some things. For example, you probably wouldn't want firefighters or police officers competing with one another for your business. In other cases, though, this means things cost more or service is worse. The U.S. Post Office has $100 billion in debt and is regularly bailed out with taxpayer money. And the Department of Motor Vehicles isn't usually known for fast, friendly service. In contrast, private companies know that if they offer poor customer service and don't make money, they'll go out of business. When comparing the private sector with the public sector, it's clear that the market-driven private sector is more efficient. When you don't have to be profitable or accountable, things tend to be more expensive and the service is worse. So when there's a choice between a private sector or the government service, think about the package you really need delivered.
So students, from the video, you should have gotten a definition of both private sector, public sector, where each sector gets its funding from, and as well how well they offer customer service. So let's jump right into the definition of private sector. So private sector refers to a business owned and operated by one person or different groups of persons within our economy. All right, and these persons basically have their businesses for profit, solely for profit. Who doesn't like money, right? And then the funding may come from their savings, family and friends, loans or grants from governments or financial institutions. Okay? And then we jump right over into public sector and their definition and funding. So the public sector is those businesses that are run by the government, central government, local government, THA, and as well, all its funding comes from, yes, taxes. Taxes that mommy, daddy, auntie, and as well, I pay. All right? Some of these services could be PTSE, the Division of Education, the Ministry of National Security, which is very much needed. All right? So let's compare private sector and public sector together. So the public sector, they basically offer essential services to the entire population of different goods and services that are needed and that are essential to everyone within Trinidad and Tobago. They also offer public and merit services. As I said before, the Division of Education, so they handle from preschool to tertiary education, and in Trinidad and Tobago, we know that it's free, right? Private sector, they have their businesses because they want to make a profit. Who doesn't like money, right? And they cater to a specific market. So, Diamond Motors, they run a car company that offers a service for people who wants to buy a car, and a specific type of car. It could be, let's say for example, Mitsubishi. Yes, Miss have one, right? So they target persons who love Lancers, and you have other types of vehicle that will fall under that brand. They also do consumer goods and services, supermarkets, hairdressers, and competition is very strong because if you don't want to go by one person, you can go by another, okay? So this is comparing public sector and private sector and the different types of services they offer and where they get funding from. So let's jump straight into our activity number 1. Simple, easy, 3 true and false questions. Read as quickly as you can and answer to the best of your ability. Good luck. Question number 1. Private sector funding comes from loans, grants, and personal savings. If you have true, you're quite correct. Give yourselves a pat on the back. Number 2, the public sector is a part of that economy that is involved with transactions of individuals and businesses. If you have true, it's correct. So that's 2 out of 3. So let's go. Public goods are financed by private sector. Public goods are financed by private sector. Is that true or is that false? The answer is false. So if you have that, you have 3 out of 3. So good. You could have a snack. All right? So as we continue, please remember the definition for public sector and private sector as we are going to need that in a few. So now we're going to try to look at the different types of businesses that we have within our economy today. So we have 1, sole trader or sole proprietor, 2, partnership, 3, cooperatives, 4, companies, and we have 2 types of companies, private limited and public limited. Then we have franchise, and lastly, we have government and its departments. So the first one we're going to look at is the sole trader or sole proprietor. And this is where a business is owned and operated or managed by one person. And this person is basically responsible for everything within the organization. However, one good thing about this business is that all the profits goes to the owner. So if you're the owner of an organization, hats off to you. So some examples of what a sole trader, who a sole trader is, we have a fruit vendor and we have hairdressers. Those are just to name a few. All right, so let's go into the advantages and disadvantages of a sole trader or sole proprietors. So number 1, it's easy and inexpensive to create. All you have to do is to create a name, go to the registrar's office and register your business. You have to pay $20, I think, and they would do a name search. And once the name search is clear, you would get a certificate to show that you have registered your business and you start to work, right? Unless you are doing a food business or a bar that needs some sort of certification where you need a food handler's permit, you need to also obtain that. If you need a liquor license, you also need to have other stipulated documents in order to organize that license. All the decisions are made by the owner, and as I said before, the last advantage is the best advantage. All the profits goes to that owner, all right? So we go into some disadvantages now. Some things that, yes, it doesn't sit well with you, but it is what it is. So in terms of capital, it's very difficult if you're one person to get capital from your savings or from family or whoever. So it's very difficult. Sometimes banks don't really give small business loans because it's a kind of risk for giving you a loan like that to start a business that they're not sure whether it's going to make money or not. 2, sole trader has unlimited liability. And unlimited liability means that if a business is in debt, you have to pay from both your personal assets and as well your business assets. All right, so you have to be very careful with whatever decisions you make pertaining to your business, because this could be very risky for your organization. If you need money to expand, it's also going to be very difficult for you to obtain money, whether it's for the short run or the long run. So we need to be careful in terms of how we use the money that we have, or you should look at the flow of money that we have. All right, so that is sole trader, is owned and operated by one person. The advantage is that all the profit goes to you, and it's easy to acquire or open your business. However, it's difficult for you to raise capital, and as well, it is difficult because you have limited liability. All right, so we are moving on. Next, we have partnerships. Partnerships are when you have 2 to 20 persons coming together to do business. And in terms of partnerships, you have examples like Louis Vuitton and BMW. So let me explain why I use this. Louis Vuitton is a brand that does clothing, and they also do bags. BMW, they do cars. So with the merger or partnership of these two, Louis Vuitton now has a special BMW that they have a bag line for that could actually fit into the car. So people who buy the car would also buy the luggage set that could also fit into the car. That's just one example. All right, there are so many other examples and local ones as well. In terms of partnership, all the partners, which I said 2 to 20, they share assets, they share liabilities, and they share profits, which sounds pretty good, right? So let's go in to see the advantages and the disadvantages. All right, so within the advantages of partnership, it's easy, relatively easy and inexpensive to set up. One document that you must have within a partnership is called a partnership deed. And this document basically states the name of all the partners, their addresses, and the ratio to which they would have inputted money into the organization, right? So that ratio would be used to share profits at the end of the term, okay? You have different partners with different skills coming together. So one person's skill set might be finance, somebody else's skill set might be marketing, another partner's skill set might be HR. So you have a lot of persons coming together with different level of expertise that would run the business more effectively, more efficiently, and sharing the labor. Let's look at some disadvantages now. Remember I said that in partnership you have 2 to 20 persons. So sometimes, yes, the business is at its peak and would like to expand even more. So 20 partners may not be enough to bring any kind of capital that the business needs to expand. So you still have a limited capital thing going on there, right? Also, you have different types of partners. You have ordinary partners, you have sleeping partners. Sleeping partners are those partners that would invest money within the organization but would not have anything to do with the day-to-day running of the organization. All right? You would also have some partners within there who have limited liability, which is good, and unlimited liability, which we said before. Unlimited liability is when your assets from your business and as well your personal assets can be interfered with if you take any risky sort of risk within the organization. All right, so going back, partnership, you have 2 to 20 persons within that organization, and they must have a partnership deed. And an example that was given was Louis Vuitton and BMW. An advantage is that more persons with more expertise and more capital is coming to the organization. And as well, disadvantages is that still it limits you in terms of capital, even though you have 20 persons within the organization, and it limits you in terms of the amount that you can invest within the organization. So we're moving on to business number 3. Cooperatives. A cooperative is a people-centered business which is owned and controlled by the people within the organization. And they basically come together for a common goal, right? Which it could be economic, social, cultural, etc. And an example, you have different types of cooperatives. You have financial, you have agri. However, we're just going to focus on one, which is a simple one that you guys would interact with on a daily basis, which is a credit union. All right? And we have a lot of credit unions within the Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago space. Some examples are Police Credit Union, Teachers Credit Union, RAN Credit Union, Mount Pleasant Credit Union, yes, and Lambeau Credit Union. Okay? All right. So now we're going to look at the advantages of being a part of a credit union or a cooperative and the disadvantages as well. So it's easy to form because you have a lot of people coming together, pooling their resources together, and some of those same members can as well be employees within the organization. So they ensure that their stake in the organization is taken care of by giving proper customer service, by ensuring that the risk that they take is one that they're willing to take to build their organization, right? And each member has a vote when the time comes for annual general meeting, when they discuss what happens within the organization and who would be the board of directors or on the different committees that the organization has. All right? So those are the advantages. All right, so disadvantage of cooperative. One, because there's so many people within the cooperative, decision making is slow because everybody would want their idea to be heard or done. Two, lack of managerial, technical, or business acumen. Persons don't have that technical knowledge that is needed to run the finance part of the cooperative or the marketing side of things or even the HR side of things. All right? Okay, so we're recapping. A cooperative is when a pool of people come together and they come together with a goal in mind, either economic, cultural, or social. And we said the example is a credit union. An advantage of a credit union is that people pool their resources to help one another, and it is very easy to form. And the disadvantage is that decision making would be slow, and persons may not have the business acronym to actually run the credit union. All right, so we are moving on to companies. And remember earlier on I said we are looking at two types of companies. So we have private limited and we have public limited. So let's look at private first. And private limited company always ends with the word limited, and the public limited company always ends with PLC. So please note that. All right? So a private limited company is owned and operated by its shareholders, and this company is mostly owned by family and friends, right? With a director being a family or friend within that organization. And a private limited company has 2 to 50 shareholders. So if you're looking at partnership where they have 2 to 20, a private limited company has 2 to 50. All right, so even more shareholders to bring even more capital, more expertise, more labor, everything, right? And in this organization, you cannot sell shares on the stock market or stock exchange. All right, it's strictly within that organization. However, if you want to, you would have to go to the board of directors to do that. Public limited, shares can be sold or traded on the stock market or stock exchange, and it is definitely a separate entity from the person and the business. So in terms of having a bank account, this company definitely cannot use a personal bank account. It has to have a business bank account and so on, right? 2 separate entities. And in terms of shareholders, the minimum could be 7 and there's no maximum. So it could go up to as much as. So this organization could be pretty big, all right? So let's look at the advantages of private, limited company and the disadvantages as well. All right, so as I said before, the name of the organization always ends in limited. And an example, Viewport Limited, Penny Savers Limited, all right? Profits are retained by the owner. So that's a good thing. greater access to capital because you have more people. Like partnership, 2 to 20. In private limited, you have 2 to 50. So you have 30 more persons adding in capital here. And then if a shareholder dies, you have continuity. It's not like if a sole trader dies, the business may shut down. All right? If a shareholder dies, there is continuity. So that is something good. And then the last one is that as soon as you receive your certificate of incorporation, which is all your registrations and so on, you could start your business right away. Okay? Let's look at the disadvantages now. So, a private limited company cannot be listed on the stock exchange, so you can't buy shares in Viewport. You can't buy shares in Penny Savers. All right? Decision making is slow because you have 2 to 50 persons, so everybody wants their ideas heard. Everybody wants to implement a strategy or something like that. So we need to be careful in terms of this. And then you may have a limit to capital and so on as well because you only have 50 persons. So that is a disadvantage. All right? Private company, private limited company always ends in limited, and it cannot exceed 50. Decision making is slow. All right? So let's go over to public limited. This is just to remind you the definition of public limited as we go forward. The shares can be traded on the stock market. Limited amount of shareholders is 7 and the maximum doesn't have a number. All right, so let's look at the advantage and the disadvantages. So for public limited, the business always ends with PLC. All right, they can sell shares so they can make as much money as possible on the stock market. And there's always room for growth and expansion opportunities because they can acquire money from selling shares. All right? Shares can be transferred from one person to another. You can just set up an account, go to FCB or whichever brokerage account, you set up an account there, and you get in contact with a stockbroker, and they would help you to buy and sell shares, all right, within different companies. Disadvantages of a PCL company. You have a lot of regulations. It's something that is not very easy to set up. All right, so you have a lot of paperwork to do. Decision making is slow because you have infinity number of members within that organization. And in terms of accountability and transparency, you have to keep every single detail, right? And sometimes you may have organizations that don't give detailed accounts and so on, so they may run into some problems. And hint, hint, we know some organizations like that, right in Tobago. Okay? So, disadvantages, we need to keep detailed account because we might run into some problems. Decision making is slow. Advantages is that you can have any amount of shareholders that you want. Okay? And they bring expertise in terms of labor skills and as well the amount of money that could be contributed. Next, we have franchise. You should love this one because we always hear and we're missing them right now, right? Okay, so franchise is when a licensor gives permission to a licensee to use their name to run business. All right, so granting permission for somebody else to use your product or service in order to make a profit within a specified time. All right, so we have different types of franchises here. We have Subway, KFC, churches. Yes, we're missing them right now. All right, so let's go into advantages of franchises. All right, so in terms of franchises, it's easy to set up. You just have to pay a franchising fee. And like McDonald's, for example, this one is not, you have to go to a university and actually learn from frying fries going right up. All right? Your income is based on your fees. You have to pay fees and royalties. So after that, you would definitely know your income. You don't have to do advertising because once the parent company does advertising, it advertised for all the franchises across the world. All right, so you already have a business that exists, and everybody knows that this business exists. All right, and you have access to new ideas, and you could give suggestions across the board. So for example, when I traveled to Jamaica, in KFC I had peas and rice. When I went to St. Lucia, instead of fries they had bun. When I went to Guyana, I had rice instead of fries. So on Trinidad and Tobago, we like fries, we like the potato vibes, right? So every franchise basically gives a little of the, or takes a little of the culture in which they inhibit, all right? Then we have disadvantages of franchise, which is sharing the profits, because after you make your money, you have to pay royalty fees, you have to buy the boxes, the forks, the napkins that have all those nice logos, and you have to use the suppliers of the franchisors, all right? So that takes away from your profit. You lose control because the business doesn't necessarily, the management belongs to you, but not the actual name and so on of the organization. So you need to look at that. And as well, the expenses that may incur over time, right? That would be a disadvantage. So just recapping, franchise is when the licensor gives you permission to use the name of the organization to do business. And advantages is that you're already setting up a business that is in existence. So you don't need to advertise, you don't need to do anything. Everybody know that the business exists, they would come to you, all right? And you get to do a little tweaking in terms of what you offer based on the culture of the organization. The culture in which the organization operates, right? Disadvantages is that you have to share profits because you have to pay fees and royalties to the licensor of the organization. Unless you have a local franchise like Royal Castle in Barbados, you have the local franchise Chefettes that you could get different things, all right? And the last type of businesses that we're gonna look at is business departments, government departments, sorry, where we would look at the central government, for example, the different ministries that you have under there, finance, education, health, and so on. You have local government. And the last types of businesses we're gonna look at is the government departments. We have central government, where we have the different ministries. We could have finance, health, agriculture. We have local government, and then we have different nationalized industries within Trinidad and Tobago. All right, so we really went through a lot just now. So just recapping, we went through two sectors, private sector, public sector. We also looked at different types of businesses where we looked at sole trader, we looked at partnership, we looked at cooperatives, we looked at companies, and we had two different types of companies, which we have private limited and we have public limited companies. We also looked at franchises and government departments. All right, so we're almost there. Let's just do one activity to reinforce what we just learned. All right, so we are going to look at the different sectors, and I'm going to give you 4 minutes to do this. Put in the two sectors within the economy, and then we are now going to subdivide these sectors into the different businesses that fall under them. All right, 4 minutes. All right, so let's go. If you have private sector on this side, and public sector on this side, you're quite right, okay? And there's a reason why it has to go like this, all right? So what are the businesses that fall under the private sector? The first one, sole trader, and that's the first type of business we looked at. Then we have partnership, then we have companies. And remember, we have two different types of companies, private limited and public limited. We have cooperatives. And lastly, we have franchise. So if you have it like this, you're quite right. And we're moving on to public sector. Public sector, we have central government, we have local government, and we have nationalized industries. And these we would look at in another lesson where we would focus on the role of the government in the economy, and we'll actually go through each one of these to see what the government is actually responsible for as well. All right? So once you have this, give yourselves a pat on the back and you are ready for part of your exam. All right? So let's just look at it. Local government, central government, nationalized industries, then you have sole trader partnership, private limited, franchises, and we had cooperatives in there. All right, so thank you for going through this lesson with me, and I really hope that you did take something away, and see you on the next lesson. Take care. Bye.